$49,388. That was the average price paid for a vehicle in January of 2023. Now, it's no secret that cars aren't getting any cheaper and inflation isn't on our side. If you paid $45,000 for a car in 2020, that same vehicle today would cost you nearly 53 G's. And we're talking about a 3-year difference. Well, in today's tier list, I have compiled a list of over 40 vehicles in between that $40,000 range and that $50,000 range. And we are going to rank them to help you understand which cars you should consider when you're looking for your next vehicle. But because this is the average price paid for a car, it's important to note that there's just no way I could have gone through every single vehicle in this category. So if a car you're interested in is not listed, drop it in the comments and let's have a conversation. But without further ado, let's get into it. So let's run through the 42 cars we got for you guys today. Number 1, the Mercedes CLA, the Ford Bronco, the Acura TLX, the Audi S3, the Audi A4, the Audi A5, the BMW 2 Series, the BMW X1, Cadillac CT4 and 5, Ford F-150, Honda Civic Type R, Honda Odyssey, Honda Pilot, Honda Ridgeline, Ioniq 5 and 6, Kia Niro EV, Lexus ES and RX, Mercedes C-Class and CLA AMG, Nissan Frontier and Nissan Z, Tesla 3 and Y, Subaru Solterra, Toyota BZ4X, Toyota Crown, Toyota Supra, Toyota Sienna, Toyota Tundra, Volkswagen Golf R, Volkswagen ID4, the Volvo V60, and the BMW M235i Grand Coupe, the BMW 3 Series, the Genesis G70, the Hyundai Santa Cruz, the Mazda CX-90, the Wrangler, and the Kia Stinger. What you'll find in this $40,000 to $50,000 price bracket is that you really have two options. Do you want to get the average car that's jam-packed with features, or do you want the luxury car that might be missing a few things? So we're going to start off with a couple vehicles that operate in the same segment. We're going to be looking at the Mercedes CLA, the Acura TLX, the Audi A3 A4, and the Audi A3 and S3, and the BMW M235, the BMW 3 Series, the Genesis G70. We are tackling the sedan segment first because you really have an interesting thing here, right? Even within these premium brands, there are two vehicles available oftentimes in that segment. Now, in the Mercedes camp, I would put both the CLA and the C-Class as Y. Now, the reason why I say this is pretty simple. The price that Mercedes is charging for the C-Class is just too darn high. For a CLA AMG, you are looking at almost 50 G's for a car with plasticky interior, large screens, and the only really good thing about the CLA is the ambient lighting. And the C-Class I am also putting in the Y category. While it is all new for 2023, the tech, the weight, all of that did not do the C-Class any favors, and it went from one of my favorite vehicles into the segment to one of my least favorite vehicles. While it's got tons of gadgets, gizmos, and doodads, none of that appeals to me, and none of that appeals to me in the longer term. If you're planning on owning one of these vehicles for over 3 years, this is the first car that they put a lot of new things in, and usually with that can come some problems, so I am putting the Mercedes folks in my Y category. I actually also am putting the Acura TLX in the Y category. For the $40,000 price range in this sedan class, you can get a lot more for your money. While the TLX is one of the larger sedans you can get in this class of car, it's not one of the best. It's not the most fun to drive. It doesn't have the most luxury. Its interior is fine, but it's nothing to, brag about. And while the exterior looks good, that's not why you should be buying a car of this price. You shouldn't just be buying it because you think it looks the best. There's so many cars in this class that it's got to offer that little bit more. So because of that, I am putting it in the Y category. Now, the Audis are a little bit interesting, because I stagger depending on which model. I put the A5 in the good buy category, which also includes the A4. While these models have been around for a long time, they have aged gracefully, they have tech that has been built for a long time, and they have good, clean interiors that will also age gracefully. If you're buying a car for the long term, an A4 and A5 are decent bets, no doubt about it. I am putting the S3 in, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to put it in the buy now category. The reason why I'm putting the S3 in the buy now category is because it offers you tons of fun for a good price. While the CLA has similar levels of power, the Audi's interior and exterior appearance and usability are just that level above, and you get a good amount for your money. Now, the A3, though, on the other hand, I am putting in the Y category. For right around $39,000 to $40,000, it's not worth the money. You're better off getting the tier below in terms of like the best Volkswagen GTI you can buy instead of getting the worst Audi you can buy. They're cheap, they feel cheap, and they look cheap. Stay away from the Audi A3. If you're looking for a car that's in that size bracket, get a Mazda 3. The Mazda 3 will save you tons of money, give you the same look on the outside, and a more luxury interior on the inside. And oh, by the way, you can get it with a turbo all-wheel drive that has almost as much power as the S3. But we'll keep it going with the sedans. The BMW 3 Series is a good buy. This is an absolute staple in the category for good reason. Supple interior, classic looks, reliable, overall good machines with great transmissions as well. The 3 Series is just a staple and a good buy regardless of what you think. They're just good machines. Absolutely run away from the M235 or any 2 Series Grand Coupe, including the 228. They are absolute garbage piles. There's no reason why this car should exist. Literally none. It's horrendous. It's ugly. It's not even that efficient. And the price, you're better off if you want to stay in the BMW family just buying a 3 Series. This car literally doesn't make any sense. The Kia Stinger I'm also putting in that Y category. While this might surprise a lot of folks, and the Stinger has a lot to offer, what it doesn't have is longevity. The interior, while it looks good brand new, after a couple years and a couple thousand miles, you'll start to hear the creaks and rattles. And while it looks good on the outside, there's a reason why a car that's the size of a 5 Series is the price of a 3 Series. It's where they pulled some of that quality, some of that fit and finish back. And if you're spending this money on a new car, you should have it that'll last for a long time, which is what I don't know if the Kia Stinger will be able to do. Now, the Genesis G70, I'm not actually going to put it in my buy now category. I'm going to put it in my good buy category. The reason why the Genesis is in a buy now, drop everything and buy it now, is because it's starting to get old, a little bit long in the tooth, if you will. Its tech is starting to get outdated. Its interior is starting to get outdated. It's been the same interior for the better part of 6 years now, almost. So with that, it is a good, solid machine. The Turbo 4 is a lot of fun. The Twin Turbo 6 is a lot of fun. And the build quality is actually a big step up over the Kia Stinger. But it wouldn't be my drop everything and buy vehicle, but it would be a good buy for sure. Now, the last couple sedans that we have are the Cadillac Twins. I'm going to put these in the Y category. Now, the CT4 and CT5, non-V, non-Blackwing, okay? They have great chassis. They have great driving dynamics. But the interior is just a classy Chevy. And if I'm spending over $40,000, under $50,000, on a vehicle, I don't want it to look like a freaking Chevy or like its tier below. If you'll notice, every car that is in the good buy and buy now category so far, even though it shares some things with another vehicle, You wouldn't be able to tell if you showed it to a non-car person. The ES is a tough one, okay? I'm actually going to list this in the goodbye category. The ES is a solid machine. If you are looking for a larger sedan that is very reliable and offers a hybrid with immense levels of efficiency, this is a good machine. And I actually would rate the Crown above it, but in the same category. Now, both of these cars are pretty similar, but what the Crown gives you that the ES does not is all-wheel drive, and that is really nice, and the slightly raised height of the Toyota Crown makes it easy to get in and out of, makes you not have to worry about bumps, not have to worry about potholes, not have to worry about driveway heights or anything like that. You can drive this thing wherever. It's a little bit pricey in its top trims, but I don't think the Toyota Crown is going to be a sales success. So if you're watching this video, there's a high chance that in a couple months you'll actually be able to get a Crown under sticker. I've driven a couple of these. I really, really like them. I've driven actually every car we've listed so far. I really, really like them. The 2.4 liter turbo in the hybrid is insane. That RX drivetrain suits the car really, really well. We're going to move on to this sort of SUV segment, which is one of the most crowded, and it makes sense. SUVs are selling better than ever before, so why not pack as many of them in this list as possible in hopes that I can shake some of this out for you guys. I actually would not even recommend a Jeep Wrangler. The reason why I would not recommend a Jeep Wrangler is because the reliability isn't there. The driving dynamics are relatively horrible. If you're not driving this thing off-road, why are you even buying it? And there's a better option that occupies the same category that gives you more features for the same price, and it's the freaking Bronco. Okay, so if you want a car that fits that character, don't buy the Wrangler, buy the Bronco. Better drivetrains, better interior, better tech, better on-road presence, better features like when you take the doors off, the mirrors still stay there, better speakers. Just overall, it's a better place to be in a car that occupies that same category. Skip the Wrangler, get the Bronco, even though both of them have wonderful depreciation. So if you bought a Wrangler, you could probably get out of it for the same price you paid if you didn't like it a few years down the line. Now, an interesting vehicle is the Honda Pilot. It is all new for 2023, and I would put this in the Y category. Now, the reason I would put it in the Y category is because in this SUV segment, there are so many good vehicles, so many good cars. So even though the Honda Pilot has improved drastically and the Trail Sport trim is very, very cool, I think there are better SUVs that you should consider. Now, it is important to note, this is a pause, this is a PSA. If you're considering any of the cars on these lists, you should drive them all, even though I'm saying why to some of these vehicles, maybe it's a car for you. The fact of the matter is, the baseline is still pretty good. Just because I think something is better doesn't mean you will. So take my opinion as just that, an opinion. It's not fact. I'm not automotive Jesus or anything like that. The Mazda CX-90. Oh my goodness, did Mazda absolutely nail this car. You get an inline 6-cylinder engine, much like you would find in the premium BMW products and the Mercedes products of old. You get the availability to have a plug-in hybrid should you want it. You have a premium interior with not too much going on, which means it will age well. Okay, so you can buy a Mazda CX-90 and know that in 10 years it'll still look really good because there's not much going on inside the Mazda CX-90. It will still age gracefully. Mazda is doing what BMW and Mercedes did a decade ago now. They are producing vehicles that are fun and engaging to drive, luxurious, comfortable, and minimal in design such that they will age gracefully. Buy the Mazda CX-90 and buy it with confidence. Now, I would run away from the BMW X1. While I do think it is a good machine at sticker, I'm not buying it. Maybe on the used market, that's a different story. I'm sure these things depreciate like stones, and in 2 years you'll be able to get one, well, for the price of this pen. But new, at over that $40,000 mark, I'm going in so many other different directions, you could call me Garmin. The electric vehicle segment is booming, okay? And there are so many vehicles you should choose from, you can choose from, so what should you choose? Well, we're going to start with the fine folks at Hyundai and Kia because they make 3 EVs, well, really 4, but we'll talk about that in a second, that operate in that 38 to 55 segment, and you should really look into all of them. The first one is the Kia Niro, and I'm going to place this under the lease category. The Kia Niro is also all new. New battery, new interior, new looks, and it's a good machine, but its charging curve is a little bit slow. Its range isn't the highest, and it's on the higher end of price for something that's the size that it is. So you can lease one of these for relatively cheap, get in and out of it no problem, and then when the lease comes to an end, you get something else, you get something new, you do that whole jam, that whole song and dance. In the goodbye category, I'm going to put the Tesla 3 and Y. Now, this might irk some folks, this might make folks angry, this might make folks frustrated, because we all know Tesla doesn't have the quality control that some other large OEMs have. But the fact of the matter is, you have the largest charging network, which I know is opening up to other people. But, even if it is opening up to other cars, that doesn't mean they're paying the same price. So your price per kilowatt hour probably will be a lot less than a Ford charging at a Tesla station's price per kilowatt hour. And the MSRP that you can get a Model 3 for, which by the way is under $40,000 at $39,000, before tax incentives, you could be in a Model 3 in some states for under $30,000 after you take in the credits and tax incentives, which is pretty crazy. The steering in the Model 3 and Model Y is great. The tech works well, which is the same that can't be said for some vehicles on this list. That is why I would put the Model 3 and Y in goodbye. And oh, by the way, they are decently reliable. There's plenty of people that have gone well over the $100,000 mile mark in these EVs, and they've done it without any problem. Where do I put the Hyundais? See, if this was a year ago, I would have put the Ioniq 5 and 6 in the buy now category because they both qualified for the tax incentive. But now that isn't the case because they are not made here in the USA. So because of that, I am going to put them in the goodbye category, but I'm still going to put the Ioniq 5 in the buy now. So for review, the buy now category, Ioniq 5. The goodbye category, the Ioniq 6. The reason why I make that differentiation is because the Ioniq 5 has more space. I think it looks better, and it has enough range. While the 6 goes farther, it's not worth it. In my view, I don't think the 6 is a good-looking machine. That said, the 5 and 6 are a joy to drive. If you get the top trim dual motors, they're really fast as well. They charge incredibly quickly and have tons of tech. These are good machines for sure, and I would definitely recommend the Ioniq 5. So I'm going to get one out of the way. This should be easy. Run away from the Subaru Solterra and the Toyota BZ4X. While this is Toyota and Subaru's first collaboration on a full EV, it's not the best. The charging curves are the worst. The range is horrible. The price isn't even that good. So because of that, I would run away from those vehicles. I would lease a Volkswagen ID4. They lease for incredible rates. Incredible rates you can lease a Volkswagen ID4. Tons of space. The reason why I wouldn't buy one of these cars is they're not engaging to drive at all. In fact, they're lifeless, and the range is pretty low. So even though you have immense levels of space, pretty similar reason to the Kia Niro. It's not that much. It's not fun to drive, and it's just overall pretty basic. That is it for EVs. Let's cross off the vans pretty quickly. I would put the Honda Odyssey in the Y category. Talk about long in the tooth. This car has been around for so long now at this point. It is extremely outdated, and while it works, while it's functional, what the fine folks at Toyota have done is they have made the same thing into something that's desirable. The Toyota Sienna, available in all-wheel drive, available in hybrid, with good looks, great interior. It's a good machine, and the prices reflect it. You're going to be spending more than ever on a minivan, but damn, you're going to get something that is pretty good. So if you are in the market for one of those, definitely consider it. In the goodbye category, I'm going to place the BMW 2 Series. If you like how this thing looks, you'd be hard-pressed to find a coupe that is more luxurious. You'd be hard-pressed to find a coupe that is more fun to drive. The 2 Series gives you back seats. The 2 Series gives you an available light 2-liter turbo with immense levels of power, or a 3-liter inline 6, which is tons of fun and sounds insane. The 2 Series is a good buy. I would not buy The Supra, I don't think it's a good buy. I would skew 2 Series. While the Supra looks better, while the Supra has an available manual transmission, the 2 Series has more practicality. The 2 Series flies under the radar. I would go 2 Series over Supra, and that might be a controversial opinion. Now, buy now is the Civic Type R. Buy now is the Golf R. Both of these machines are immense. The driving dynamics of the Civic Type R you won't find on this list. You won't even find something that comes close on this list. While faster cars exist on this list, there is nothing that drives better. And, it's a manual, which, by the way, while we do have some on this list, and we'll go through that afterwards, it's the best one, and it's also not even close. The Golf R takes the Civic Type R's fun, doesn't get quite to that mark, but adds a level of adds a level of luxury that the Civic just can't match. And if you get past that infotainment, which has made substantial improvements since this car has come out, you'll be left with a really good machine. I would run away from a Ford F-150. Now hold your horses, Ford fans. Wait a second. Just hear me out. I am not saying the Ford F-150 is a bad machine. What I am saying is that under $50,000, the Ford F-150s that you can get, you do not want. I have reviewed many an F-150 on this channel. We have driven the V6s. We have driven the V8s. I, in my private time, have driven the turbos, and they're great. I loved the V8 I drove. I loved the twin-turbo V6, the 3.5. I love the twin-turbo 2.7. But what I don't love is that V6. And if you're going to be spending between $40,000 to $50,000, unless you're getting a run-of-the-mill work truck spec XL, you're likely going to be spending near that money. You're likely going to have a V6. I'm all set. Run away. There's better options. There are better options. The same is true for the Ridgeline. While the Ridgeline is a solid machine and the pickup truck that is more than enough for most people, brand new for over $40,000, I'm all set. I am all set. I don't want one. I don't even want to think about one. There's just other options there that do a better job. For the same or less money, I would be more inclined to get the pickup truck bracket below. The Colorado, brand new. The Canyon, brand new. The Ranger, brand new. I haven't had the chance to drive any of those, so because of that, they are not on this list, but I would probably be more inclined to get one of those. What is, however, in my good buy category is the brand new Toyota Tundra. With an MSRP of $39,000, you can get a pretty well-equipped Toyota Tundra for in the mid-40s. This has the twin-turbo 6. This has immense levels of capability. This has a great interior, great power. You get everything you get in a higher trim F-150, but with the motor that you want to have in a $40,000 F-150. You actually get it in the Toyota Tundra. That is why it is in my good buy category. The Frontier, I'm going to put in my Y as well for similar reasons to the F-150. If you're going to be spending nearly $40,000 on a Nissan Frontier, just get a new Canyon, get a new Colorado, get a new Ranger. Don't get the outdated Frontier. Okay, we got 4 cars left. The RX, the Z, the V60, and the Santa Cruz. We are going to blitz through these because I realize I've taken a lot of your time, and I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me today. The Lexus RX is a firm buy now. This is, for good reason, one of the best-selling SUVs ever. Now, you might be saying, hey, why didn't you put the NX on here, the smaller SUV with a base price of $40,000 going all the way up to $60 if you get the plug-in. But anyway, you can get one of those for $40. I think it's too small, full stop. You can get a Lexus RX for 48 Gs. You can get a hybrid for right at that $50,000 mark. They give you the space, they give you the looks, they give you the tech, they give you the efficiency. It's brand new. It'll be reliable. Yes, it's not the RX 500, which costs $63,000, but you get a lot of machine for that $48,000 to $50,000 mark. So while it's at the higher end of this $50,000 tier list, it is worth every penny. Goodbye is the Nissan Z. You can get a Z for $41,000, and that gets you a twin-turbo manual coupe. Now, while it's the base model, while it doesn't have a diff, while it doesn't have the big brakes, while it doesn't have leather, it doesn't have all that, the fact of the matter is that if you adjust a 350Z for inflation, it costs more than a Nissan Z. The Z presents immense levels of value at $41,000, so because of that, it is a good buy. I would lease a V60. The tech in it is solid, but the drivetrains are complex. Therefore, I would lease one of those, and I would not buy a $40,000 Santa Cruz. So, there you have it. In the buy now category, we have the tremendous Lexus RX, the fantastic Civic Type R, the wonderful Golf R, the electric Toyota Sienna, the Ioniq 5, the Mazda CX-90, the S3, and the Bronco. We have SUVs, we have minivans, we have hatchbacks, and we have sedans, all available in that $40,000 to $50,000 price bracket. That is the tier list for under $50,000. There's a lot of ground that we covered here, and I appreciate you for sticking along for the ride. But if there isn't a car that I didn't talk about in this list, drop it in the comments. Let's have a conversation. And if this helped you, drop it in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'm MoneyShift. We'll see you next time.